Thanks a lot, Phil, and thanks for everyone making time here today. I was leaving last night when everyone's power went out and I left my tie behind. But I know that a few others of you haven't got ties, so I feel at home here today, so thanks for that. It's a really privilege here to be here today sponsoring this session, and I'll talk a bit about why copper strategy and future of work. So what's the link? But I'd also like to acknowledge that the land we meet on today is a traditional land of the Kaurna people, and they respect their spiritual relationship with their country. I think it's a really important thing for us to be really genuine about this, because a lot of the land in South Australia and more broadly in Australia is traditional lands of Aboriginal nations, and I think it's a really important part for us in the various parts of the industry to acknowledge this link. One of the things I want to do is just give a brief overview of the copper strategy, because I know you're all here to hear the other speakers, but I want to acknowledge the work that a lot of you in this room were involved with our copper strategy being developed last year. We spent a lot of time consulting with industry and in a whole range of areas in academia. A number of you had major input into it, so I want to acknowledge publicly the work that went in there. Today I want to just talk a bit about and part of the reason for the copper strategy. There are some brochures around. I know some of you have picked them up. I've seen you holding them around with the copper strategy. But one of the reasons why we in South Australia have picked this up is we believe that the demand for copper into the future over the next 15 to 20 years will start to exceed its supply. Now, why do we believe that? A number of the commentators are indicating this is happening, and Phil eloquently highlighted the fact that resource scarcity is emerging, so that in the copper industry the grades are going down, they're getting deeper, and we're having to use more and more technology to capture it. Now, I'm no forecaster, I'm no economist, but so you never know what will happen in the future. I think this gives a pretty good indication of where we see an opportunity. There's some pictures there showing sort of aeroplanes. So the advanced aeroplanes are using more and more copper. Electric cars are using them. Now, we think in Australia electric cars, they're not very big. We had a briefing on 2 days ago from the Warren Centre in China. There's a company called BYD that's built 65,000 electric cars in China last year. Just think about that for a minute, and the sort of amount of copper that is. It's a huge growth area, we believe. Electric trains are wind turbines, so there's a huge potential internationally. And then why South Australia? Well, for those of you who are familiar with South Australia, it's a big state, and what we've got here is just highlighting in the blue dots is the sort of copper resources. Now, South Australia holds roughly 68% of Australia's copper resources, but we're only exporting 30%. So there's a big gap there in opportunity we see potentially. So we want to really capture that sort of thing. So what we did is we engaged with the community and the industry to develop this strategy. It was launched on the 23rd of February by the Premier and the Minister Koutsantonis, and the strategy is a bold strategy, sets a substantial target there. The middle part there talks about the objective of tripling our production in the next 15 years. So in effect, it's equivalent of having another 2 Olympic dams in the next 15 years. Now, that's a bold target. Let's not say it's going to happen easily, but we believe we've got the capability of doing that if we get all the things aligned. So what we've done in the strategy, we've got 3 key actions. One of them is about accelerating the discovery of new copper. The next one is about innovative infrastructure, services and research. And the final one is about actually building industry and community capacity, which is one of the reasons why we're here today. Come back to that shortly. So the first theme that we've got in there is about exploration discovery. So one of the issues is the South Australia's Drill Core Reference Library, and here we are today. So it's been one of the major initiatives of the government to support miners across the area. Copper is obviously one of our major minerals. It does support iron ore and the gold and the other areas, but it's one of the things that is supporting the strategy. The other one is a thing called PACE Copper. Before I go on, how many people are familiar with the PACE program? Okay, so about half of you. Okay, so for those of you who don't know, the PACE program has been going on for over a decade now, which is about supporting explorers to find more minerals. It's been, government supports new initiatives for that. Last year they announced PACE Copper, which has a focus on finding more copper resources, and that's a major program that we've been doing. So PACE stands for Plan for Accelerated Exploration. Accelerated, Tom. So one of the reasons for that is because in our geologists will tell us that if you look at the top left there, South Australia, we've got one big deposit we know about, which is the Olympic Dam deposit. The next smaller ones are the Carrapateena and the Prominent Hill deposits. If you look internationally, there's definitely a much smoother curve of where those deposits are. We believe there's something in between the Olympic Dam and the Prominent Hill and Carrapateena deposits. That's why we're looking for more deposits. The other theme then is about developing innovative infrastructure, services and research. So we're doing some work about water, doing some work about transport, what are the opportunities. We're also looking at the development of an international copper technology and research hub, and we actually released a report back in August. We launched it here with a number of people around this room here have contributed again, and we're looking to develop that as something that's quite substantial here in South Australia to bring together all some of the work and feed into increasing productivity down the track. And the other one is developing the service sector, and Paul will talk a bit about the work that we're working on there. And finally, the third theme I mentioned is about building industry and community capacity. And one of the things that came out of the workshops was, how do we share information? How do we do information? We've got a lot of things happening already, so what are some of the gap areas? What are some of the areas we can do different things? And so we've got this, what we call the CS Cubed program, Copper Strategy Success Seminars, which is what we've got today. And what we're trying to do is expand it beyond the industry. So people like, we've got RA from Mark Borlace, we've got other people from different areas to be able to talk to us to open up our horizons on these things. We're already doing some really work, these seminars, about making it wider. We're also looking at building regional and community relationships and partnerships, and also doing a copper promotion program. So we're working with the SA Museum, and we're also working with the International Copper Association on how we can work that. So, that summary, I think I've taken my 7 minutes. So in effect, the copper strategy is aiming to deliver benefits from community and industry. It is a bold strategy, there's no question about that, but with the support we've had so far has been fantastic. I really look forward to hearing all the speakers today, and I think it's a great program that Phil and his team have put together with us sponsoring it. Really appreciate it. It's a pity about the weather, but all of those who are here are going to enjoy today. Phil, thanks.
Charles, you've got a strategy. What's the strategic statement actually? What's the goals and by when?
So the main goal that we've sort of articulated is the one about by 2030 that South Australia will be a major contributor to Australia being the 3rd largest copper producer in the world.
So what do we actually want to do in South Australia? Do we want to be number 1, or do we want to be...
So what we're doing is set a target of tripling our copper production by 2030.
And what does that mean for other industries in this room, etc.?
So the idea is to bring along the other industries. So there's developing either the met sector, the actual copper producers. The strategy itself is also aimed across the value chain. So we're looking to see what we can do with manufacturing opportunities as well.
So there is a vision there that we want to actually be processing copper in the state or in Australia? Value add?
We want to value add. What that looks like, we really need to work with industry to confirm that, because there's copper concentrate produced and we produce copper plate. It's a 15-year strategy. We're looking to try and work out what we can do, and it's an economic aspect as well. Happy to talk to you afterwards if you like to.
No, this is the idea about why we're here today, is this sort of workshop to actually mould and keep going to the next step so that we're all aligned, so that people can actually see where the opportunities are.
Yeah, so that's a really good point, and today's got the focus on where the work might be for people. So, yeah.
Thanks, Charles. Yep, I guess a million tonnes of copper produced going from where we are brings opportunities, so that's great. And a lot of those will be actually for a range of businesses that are in the supply chain.